Hey, forgotten how to start these things. It's been so long. But, shit. Hi, and welcome back to What's on the Shelf. So, yeah, apologies. It's been, I think, 3 months since my last video, and I'm not going to make excuses. I've genuinely just not been in a creative space lately. Haven't felt like making any videos, and as I've said before, I never want to kind of half-ass anything, so I don't want to put anything out that I'm not completely happy with and proud of, and I feel like it would show on this channel if I was to just sort of make a video for the sake of making a video. With that being said, today is another episode of What's on the Shelf, and of course, because I've been gone for 3 months, there's a lot of stuff to get through in this video, so I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get straight into the video. So first, again, as always, I want to quickly talk about some of the manga that I have been reading first, as opposed to just the stuff that I've been buying, because, you know, there's not always a bit of a crossover. I think sometimes I'll buy things and they'll sit on my shelves for months before I even actually read them. For the most part, at least in this last month, I've read a ton of digital manga, and I've actually finished all of the Attack on Titan manga digitally on my iPad, so I definitely want to make a video in the future about Attack on Titan to really dive in depth about my thoughts on it, if that's something that you guys would be interested in seeing, because believe me, I have a ton of thoughts, and I picked up the vast majority of these volumes on the Humble Bundle, which was ran, you know, as a charity thing with Kodansha, where you got the vast majority of Attack on Titan and all the spin-offs as like this one big digital bundle. And also personally, you know, my preference in terms of the physical volumes of Attack on Titan is that I don't like the spines, so for me the digital route was a much kind of, it made more sense to me to pick it up digitally, and I love the covers. I think all the cover art is really cool, but yeah, the spines, that like horrible beigey brown colour, it just doesn't sit well with me, and that's the main reason that I sold them off. But what I will say is I did enjoy the series. I thought it had a very interesting shift in tone in the later half, which you guys who are up to date with the anime will probably know what I'm talking about, but for the most part I really enjoyed it. It was always a series that was really unpredictable. It was always something that was really big reveals and big shocking moments in it, and it stayed true to that until the end. And I think even Eren's main, you know, character completely changed by the end, and it really shocked me where things ended up, and for that reason I really enjoyed the series, and it's definitely one of my favourites now, I would say. So yeah, be on the lookout for that video. I make a lot of promises about videos that I want to create, but that is one that I definitely do want to record, because as you can tell, I feel like I'm holding back a lot of things that I want to say about Attack on Titan. So next on the series that I read in the last 3 months, we have Censor by Junji Ito. This is another, it's a bit like Remina, I suppose. Like, it's not a short story, it's an overarching story that they've compiled into one volume. And this one was very odd to me. It wasn't really scary, it was kind of a little bit more fantasy, I'd say, than horror. Like, I really like the kind of body horror, or like, you know, the uncomfortable horror, and this never really got to that point. It was more of a kind of like a fairy tale gone wrong, I guess. So next, what I read was a really anticipated manga for me. I could not wait to pick this up. I looked everywhere for it to kind of get it as soon as possible, and I've just ordered the second volume from Book Depot. It's not due to be out for quite a while here yet, so you know, I'm kind of paying a bit more to get these releases, annoyingly, because of everything that's going on, but because I love this artist so much, I had to get his volume as soon as it came out, and that is of course number 5 by Taiyo Matsumoto. So you might have seen on Instagram I did post about this. I really love this. I love this release. It's perhaps the most beautiful Viz release that they've ever put out, I would say. Just the cover art, the whole wraparound, I'm trying to get it in frame, the whole wraparound cover art with the fold outs is just amazing. It has this really ridiculously over the top kind of rainbow holographic effect on the front and on the spine. I think that this is perhaps, you know, it's the least Matsumoto work that I've ever read from him. It's a completely science fiction story about a group of superhumans that all have numbers, and of course number 5 decides for whatever reason to go rogue and start killing all the other members, and it's kind of like a little bit of a mystery. You're trying to figure out why he's doing this, but at the same time, for me, I was trying to figure out a lot of what was going on. It was very, very complicated. I would not necessarily recommend this for someone who is just trying to get into Matsumoto, because for me, I don't know whether I'm just really stupid, but it was a bit confusing. But at the same time, that is personally why I really enjoy this series. I'm really enjoying trying to figure out what's going on, and there's some really creative artwork, there's some really inventive character designs, and to see Matsumoto try and tackle an action sci-fi in itself is something that must be experienced, because all of his works are completely different and this is no exception. And if you want to know more about the story, I know I did a really kind of terrible explanation, but go and check out OnTheShelf's review video, because he did a really good job of explaining what's going on, at least more than I can. And next, I've been continuing to pick up Blue Giant. So this is a fantastic jazz series about a jazz musician who wants to get into playing the saxophone. I love music related series. I always have. I really love Kids on the Slope. I love Your Lie in April. I loved Beck. I think that this just seemed like something for me personally that I would really enjoy. It's a very comfortable series. I like to read things like this when I'm taking a break from something that's a little bit more heavy going or something that's more action. It's just a really nice kind of slice of life series about a boy who's chasing his dreams, who wants to become a jazz musician. Ever since he hears jazz music, he's become obsessed with it and he wants to know more about it. And this is a fantastic series. It's a really great story. The way in which, I've said it before, it's difficult to imagine music related series in manga form, but there's something about this that's so charming that it doesn't need music to accompany it. I think you can just imagine it, and it really shows you how the main character is feeling at any given moment with the artwork. But at the same time, they've just announced that there is going to be an anime film, I believe, of this, so look forward to that as well. I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot more about Blue Giant in the future, and maybe now we'll actually have a soundtrack to listen to while we read along with this, so that could be really fun. Okay, next is a completely different one that I read, and I picked this up because I was really interested in the artist. I think their artwork looks really unique, unlike anything that I've kind of seen before. And for this one, it's very strange to recommend, but it's more of lots of interlinking short stories, I'd say, that have an overarching reason behind them. So that is An Invitation from a Crab by Panya. I hope I didn't pronounce that wrong. But yeah, in terms of the story, it's sort of a little girl that is having various adventures throughout the town, and they're all a little bit odd, to say the least. You know, there's some strange sort of animal characters, some things that look like aliens in there. It's difficult because they don't all have a reasoning behind them, almost. Some of them are a little bit pointless and throwaway, so for that reason I didn't enjoy that aspect of it. But then the artist almost writes a little bit of a foreword, a little mini actual chapter of something that might have happened to them in the past, some sort of anecdote, and they don't always fit with the next manga story that goes along, but I think that just made it feel a little bit more personal. I feel like this almost feels like, to me, a journal in manga form. It's like lots of different stories about the main character alongside lots of different personal anecdotes from the creator, and for that reason it was really unique, it was really different, and I enjoyed it for what it was. So next we have the manga haul part of the video. So I haven't read any of these, so I don't have a whole lot to say about them, but let's just get through as many as we can. First up we have Die Dark Volume 1 by Kyu Hayashida. This was a very anticipated release for me because of how much I loved Dorohedoro. Dorohedoro is one of my favourite kind of action horror series, if you can call it that, and this is pretty much, looking at the artwork, it's pretty much exactly the same but in space. So you can tell 100% that this is Q Hayashida. All the characters look like they could be from Dorohedoro, and one of them pretty much looks exactly like one of the main characters from Dorohedoro, but it's set in space. I don't know anything really about this yet, and I'm going to go into it blind when I've picked up a few more volumes, but what I will say is that 7 Seas have absolutely killed this release. It feels heavy, it feels expensive, and it wasn't all that expensive. The paper quality is really bright, it's really thick and nice, and I just love this. I cannot wait to check out more of Daidark. Next is something that I'm very, very happy to own, albeit it cost me more than I wanted to pay for it. I found it on eBay. I offered the guy what I thought it was worth, and he seemed to differ, and I didn't really want to let it go, so I paid a bit more than I wanted to. But I am glad to own this, and that is Sandland by Akira Toriyama. So of course I'm trying to collect all of these. I have Jacko the Galactic Patrolman, and I now have Sandland, and I believe there's also one called Kowa, which I did see on eBay, and I refused to pay. I think they want £60 for it, and I'm not paying that for one volume, but I'm a massive Dragon Ball fan and Dragon Ball Z fan. I've recently got the Dragon Ball Super manga digitally as well, just to sort of check that out, and can't really say anything more about this. I don't really know a whole lot about it either, I just know that it's Akira Toriyama, so when I've read this, I will let you know my thoughts. Next, as a birthday present, my partner got me another volume of The Promised Neverland, so this is volume 12. I'm very far behind. It's completed now, and there's 20 volumes, and I think I've said it before, this was something that I always wanted to wait until I had all of it to binge all of it. So I've read the first 8 or 9 volumes, and I'm slowly just collecting the rest so that I can binge it, because it's one of those, it's definitely like a bit of a mystery at the beginning, and there's a lot going on and a lot of things that you want to find out and discover, and I could not be bothered to wait months and months in between volumes for those revelations, because I'm just a really impatient person. That's the main reason that, you know, I bulk buy a lot of stuff off eBay. Next is a guilty pleasure manga of mine, and if you know anything about this channel, you'll know what that is. So I got Prison School volume 5, Prison School volume 6, and Prison School volume 7. So I think there's like, it's either 12 or 14 of these Yen Press omnibuses to collect, and I'm just slowly making my way through them. I have read up to where the first season of the anime ends, and now I'm slowly collecting kind of the later half of the series, and I have no idea what happens. I'm super excited to find out what goes on in this crazy, wacky universe. I think it's probably the series that I'm most ashamed to own. I apologise to any of you guys that are quite open with the series that you collect, but for me this is one that I think I'd be pretty embarrassed if anyone was to come in and flick through some of the pages. But to put it in context, it's a rather rude series, but it's done so in a self-aware way, so that makes it funny to me. Like, I think it's almost taking the piss out of some of those other types of series. You gotta collect what you enjoy, and I actually really enjoy Prison School, even if I hope no one knows that I own it, if that makes sense. Says me, who's making a video telling the world that I own this. But for someone who doesn't really enjoy comedy manga, this genuinely makes me laugh with every volume, and for that reason I will continue to collect it. Here's a series that I said I was not going to pick up physically because I did not like the physical releases, and I broke that promise to myself, I suppose, because I've seen a lot of you guys pick these up, and as more and more volumes have come out on the shelf, I actually think that the spines look better than I initially thought. Although I feel like they could have done a better job with the release, I went ahead and picked up the first Shaman King omnibus. 3-in-1 is still ridiculous to have for this series. It's too heavy on the spine. I know that this is going to get completely ruined, and I feel like they scrimped a little bit on the paper quality because of, you know, the condensed format of this release, but Shaman King's too cool of a series not to own physically. It's just a fantastic shonen series. I really love it. It's definitely one of my childhood favourites that I remember quite fondly. And as I said, as I've seen more and more of these coming out, I do actually really like the multicolour kind of look of the spines, even if I wish they were 2-in-1s as opposed to 3-in-1s. But have you guys been checking out Shaman King? Let me know your thoughts down below if you have. Next we have a series that I wanted to check out for the longest time, and I was always put off by the artwork, and I have to say, actually looking through it, it is really cool. It's very different, but I still don't know if it's for me. So I picked up the first master edition of Blam, or Blame, however you say it. I feel like it's supposed to be pronounced Blam, but I could be wrong. I've heard some of you call it Blam, I swear. But this is a series by Tsutomu Nihei, and from what I understand, he doesn't actually put a lot of text in his series. It's more artwork based. This is set in space, that's all I know. I love sci-fi, so I was intrigued, and of all of Nihei's work, this is the one that definitely drew me in the most. Of course, these releases from Vertical are damn near incredible. Like, they're really heavy, oversized, but they don't, they don't cut corners on the quality of their paper. They're just really, really nice, and they're not too heavy either that I feel like they're going to kind of destroy the spines. So I will be checking these out as and when I kind of get to them, but at the minute it is definitely on the back burner, because as you can tell from this video, I have a whole lot of stuff that I've recently picked up that I'm also collecting, so I'm just a bit of a glutton for punishment with new series, it would seem, in a minute. And next was my most anticipated release of this year, and it did not disappoint me. We have Femme Fatale, the art of Shuzo Ashimi. So I don't know how much of this I can actually show you guys, but it's just incredible. It's got works from all of Ashimi's manga releases in the UK. We have, The Flowers of Evil, Inside Mari, Happiness, but also some of his lesser known works. So we have The Drifting Net. We have to be careful what we show here. We have The Drifting Net Cafe, which I also did a review on. I will link in this video now if you want to go and check that out. And some of his releases that are yet to come out in English. So we've had a few more announced lately, but just wow, like some of this artwork, I'm sorry I'm getting sidetracked, but some of this artwork is just insane. I love art books. I don't collect a whole lot of them, but I love them because I think sometimes it's just nice to really sit down, not read anything, but just appreciate the effort that goes into the art and the things that we enjoy. So this was something that I could not wait to own. It's a soft cover from Dempa. It also has a little bit of an afterword from Ashimi, some little sketches as well in the back. And if you're a fan of Ashimi's works, I just think that this is a must buy. Okay, and last but certainly not least, in terms of my manga pickups for the last 3 months. If you've been particularly observant, you might have noticed that the setup of my videos has slightly changed. I actually have a new third bookcase, which I posted on Instagram if you want to go and check that out. But just to the left of me here, I picked up a particularly rare series that I'm ridiculously happy to own. So of course that is Vocarano Hours. This is something that was on my holy grail list of manga to pick up. It's sci-fi mech manga, a little bit kind of like Evangelion. It has that vibe to it. There's I don't want to spoil it, there's a huge mystery about this series, and I think if you want to experience it, I would go in blind. But it's about a group of children that meet a mysterious individual, and he tells them to pilot giant mech robots to save the world, but there's much more to it than meets the eye. That's all I'm going to say. This is another series by Viz that is, really, really difficult to find anywhere. I mean, I don't think all the volumes are. I think there's quite a few that are in print still, but certainly volume 3 is damn near impossible to get hold of. And thanks so much to OnTheShelf for selling me his copies. He sold me a few volumes. I picked up the rest on eBay because he told me about a certain listing, and then I pieced together some of the other random volumes on Book Depository, I think, or Wordery or something like that. But for that reason, you know, I spent a lot of money. I spent like my month's worth budget and also some birthday money to get these, but I am super happy to have them in my collection. I love this sort of series. I love mech series. I love sci-fi series. This has always been something that I really have been very interested to read, and I've hated the fact that it's been impossible to find the odd volumes. Like everything, I feel like just as you find something new and interesting, you realise that it's out of print and it's impossible to find. But if you want a review of this, please let me know down below in the comments. I'll certainly be reading it. I'm going to binge read it within the next week or so. I just wanted to finish up Attack on Titan first before I started anything new, but I have read the first volume just to get the flavour of it, and this is insane. It's really cool, and I look forward to letting you guys know what I think of it. So that's it for the manga that I read and picked up in the last few months. I feel like I bought a lot for me personally in the last few months, and there's definitely some things in there that I really look forward to. Now moving on, we have some slightly different things as always with these What's on the Shelf videos. First up, I just want to quickly show off this really cool Akira print that my brother bought me for my birthday, so he kindly framed it. I've not really seen this anywhere. I don't think it's like an official Akira print, and I don't know where he got it from personally, but I really like the colour of it. I think it's different from just seeing like Kaneda with the bike and stuff like that. This is something slightly different. It almost reminds me of one of the covers of Akira. I'm pretty sure it's not, but it reminds me of one of the covers, and I'm going to find a place for it on the wall in this room. This room is actually going to be decorated within the next like few months, like after Christmas, so maybe I'll do a room tour, show you guys my setup and some of the other cool little things that I have dotted around the room. But yeah, really like this. I think it's really beautiful, and it was something different to get for my birthday. You know, I'm so used to getting just like video games and things, and I really appreciated that my brother kind of went out of his way to think of something a little bit different that I'd enjoy. So now this is the anime section of What's on the Shelf, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I've actually sold off a lot of my anime. Like in the last, I want to say the last month at least, I've sold off pretty much half of my anime collection, because the more I thought about it, the more I've kind of steered away from anime in the last few years. I really enjoy anime original series, and I enjoy the things that animation can do that manga can't, but there was a lot of stuff that I've read the manga for, and I didn't want to keep the anime as well, because I don't think it's necessary to own the same story twice in two different forms of media. And for me personally, when you can read a chapter of manga in like 5 minutes versus an episode that tells the same story in 20 minutes, it was an easy decision for me to make as to which of those to keep. But I did pick up some anime films in the last month, and I really hope you can see these on camera because they are still in the wrapping. But I got 4 Studio Ghibli steelbooks. I've been kind of trying to collect these, but at the same time not giving myself too much of a hard time, because Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke are ridiculously expensive. But I do have also Howl's Moving Castle and Castle in the Sky, My Neighbor Totoro, and Ponyo, which I might have shown already on this channel, I'm not sure. But the new ones that I got for a really sweet deal, I got 4 for £20 I think on eBay. I got Arrietty, which is a retelling of The Borrowers. I've never seen this, and I'm probably going to keep it in the wrapping and just watch it on Netflix, but that's just the weird collector in me. That's something that I like to do. I got When Marnie Was There. This is probably one of Studio Ghibli's most underrated films. It's a really sweet story about friendship and childhood and loneliness, and our main character goes to stay, I think it's with her grandparents for a summer, and she meets a a mysterious girl called Marnie, and there's a little bit of a fantasy element to it. It was just a really sweet story, and the soundtrack to this one was very, very good. Then this is probably in my top 3 Miyazaki films ever. That is The Wind Rises. I freaking love this film. I think it's super, super underrated. It's about the guy who designed the Japanese bomber planes during the Second World War, but the whole idea of the story is that he just really was fascinated with aeroplanes and flight, and he had a huge love and passion for it, and to see his creations become tools of war was not what he initially envisioned. And it was a very controversial film at the time that it came out, but I think it's definitely a vital watch for any fan of Studio Ghibli and Hayao Miyazaki. And then finally, I was really happy to get this for so cheap. We got Parkorosso, and that is one of Miyazaki's craziest and most bizarre films about a jet fighter pig. So it's a guy who's been turned into a pig because of some unknown curse, and I don't think it particularly dives that much into the curse, but we just told to accept that he's a pig for the majority of the story, and everything else that happens around that is kind of secondary. So really loved this. This is a very quaint and charming film, and yeah, really, really glad to own those films. And as I said, for everything that I am kind of unhauling in my anime collection, there are still some firm favourites like Studio Ghibli, like certain films and certain individual series that I do treasure and I will hold on to. So if you've made it this far into the video, thanks for sticking it out. As always, I'm going to sort of leave you with a very brief film recommendation, and just because Halloween is over does not mean that spooky season has to be over. I refuse to believe that it's nearly Christmas yet, and I'm still watching horror films pretty much every weekend. So I've watched quite a lot in the last month, and I just want to quickly recommend 2 which are very similar, that if you guys are looking for something a little bit creepy to keep you in that Halloween spirit, then I think you will enjoy these. So the first is called Hellfest. It's a story about a group of kids who go to a cool festival which is Halloween themed. It has haunted houses and ghost trains and people dressed up as all kinds of crazy things, and in amongst all of those actors and people just there enjoying Hellfest, there is a serial killer, and he starts to kill off different people. And because it's a spooky themed, festival, people don't actually think that it's real. They think it's all part of the game, it's just a joke, and slowly they do realise that that's not the case. And this was a slasher film, a very over-the-top cheesy American slasher film that I really enjoyed. I had a lot of fun with. There were some really fun characters, some cliche tropes in there, and if this is something that interests you, then I wholly recommend it. If you're looking for something that's along the same vibes but a little bit more gruesome, so the first one was pretty gory, the second one was perhaps a little bit more tense in parts, and it was more true horror, I would say, as opposed to slasher. We have a film called Haunt. So similar setup. Some kids go to what they believe to be a haunted house on Halloween. It's run by these creepy people in masks, clown masks. I really hate clowns, so this really, for me, definitely made me pretty tense throughout the vast majority of the film. But they go through different areas of the haunted house, and there's always this kind of ominous sense of dread, because we as an audience know that things aren't as they seem. This isn't a normal haunted house. Things are gonna go wrong, and the kids are just oblivious to it. They're making jokes about it, they're getting in the actors' faces and like taking the piss out of them. I don't know if you've ever been to any of those sorts of haunted houses, but they always have a guy with a fake chainsaw that kind of like comes near you and chases you a little bit and just to make you jump. But they would obviously never do anything. And this has one of those guys, but he's got a chainsaw. It's a real chainsaw. He does stuff with the chainsaw, and it was amazing. I think that both of these films are definitely my type of horror film. I love the sorts of horror films where people make really stupid decisions, stupid mistakes. They're completely unaware of what's going to happen to them, and we as an audience are completely aware of what's going to happen to them. I had so much fun watching these. Of all the films that I watched over Halloween, these two stood out to me the most. And although, as I say, they're very similar, I do think they do have some subtle differences to them, and you can find something in both of them that perhaps you might enjoy just to continue your Halloween season. So please let me know. I'm dying for some more horror recommendations before it gets to December and I have to accept that it's Christmas. Please let me know down below in the comments what some of your favourite horror films are, and if you've seen Haunt or Hellfest, let me know if there's anything else that you think I might enjoy along the same lines. So yeah, thanks guys, thanks for watching this video, and thanks for staying with me. We hit 2,500 subscribers a while ago. I did a little bit of a post on YouTube just to say thank you, but I just want to say thank you again from the bottom of my heart. I know that I am perhaps the worst person for consistency on YouTube. I still plan on creating videos as and when I can, but I can't always promise that I will be consistent with that, and that is the honest truth. I'm not going to make any false promises that I'm going to put out videos every month or even every 2 months, but as and when I do get that kind of creative spark, I will always be using YouTube as an outlet for that. So please do stick around, and if you enjoyed this video, as always, hit that like button. So yeah, thanks so much for watching guys, and hopefully I will catch you next time. Peace.